You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies. Hello and welcome to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast on Rocky Mountain Rooftop, proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Evan Lang, and with me, as always, is Skyler Timmons.
Thank goodness for the Rockies playing good baseball, because I've watched some bad baseball this weekend.
Yeah, Skyler, do you want to tell us the final score of the game that you had to sit through today?
Well, the football game that I sat through was 33-17. Oh, excuse me, the baseball game I sat through and had to broadcast.
I was going to say, wait a minute, it's not football season.
Spring football. Yeah, it just goes to show, if people complain about Rockies pitching, pitching at 5,280 feet, yeah, add 2,000 more feet to that elevation, and that's what I had to sit through.
Ouch.
And metal bats.
Speaking of painful things to sit through, how about those Denver Nuggets, huh?
I stopped watching.
Yeah, same here.
Terrible.
It's been, I am so, even with, so the Timberwolves are going to be down like two of their main guys tomorrow in Ant and Dante DiVincenzo. And I still think the Nuggets are going to lose. I think they're going to be one and done.
Because random dude puts up a 40.9. You're like, are the Nuggets playing defense?
Yeah, they're not. That's the thing. They're playing truly terrible, if not non-existent defense, and they look completely demoralized out there. Like in Game 3 and in the game yesterday, they looked like they'd given up. And honestly, that makes me wonder if we move forward with David Adelman still being the head coach next year.
Yeah, I think the problem was this team didn't have really good defenders in the first place. Like, all the people they brought in weren't exactly the best defenders, and you're missing Peyton Watson, and yeah,
AG can't stay healthy.
Yeah, heads may roll.
Yeah, it's been rough. But at the very least, we have our beloved Colorado Avalanche, who just completed the 4-game sweep of the Los Angeles Kings to move on, eliminate the Kings, and send Anze Kopitar into retirement.
Suck it, Kings.
Yeah, that was at least a good series. The Avs weren't always perfect, but they played well. They played good, gritty hockey and came away with the sweep.
And the Kings just looked like they were just trying to go out and hurt anybody and everybody that they could.
That's sure how it felt.
Like when they pop up the hits graphic, you're like, oh, geez.
But speaking of sweeps, the Rockies also with a sweep today, sweeping the doubleheader against the New York Mets and sweeping the series against the New York Mets. And before we get into that series as a whole, though, there are some individual guys we need to talk about. And, likely these are guys that are on everybody's radar. A couple weeks ago, we discussed, who's been disappointing, who are guys we need to see step up. And right now, there's a couple guys who are just really, really struggling on this team. I think the first guy to talk about is starting shortstop Ezequiel Tovar, who is not hitting particularly well and he's flailing at everything. Where, Tovar is currently hitting exactly 200, on base percentage 236, slugging percentage 305. He's got an OPS of 541. And he's been pretty rough to watch, especially with the strikeouts. Hunter Goodman may still lead the team in strikeouts, but he's still at least being a 3 true outcomes kind of guy, where he's socking home runs. He's got 7 of them now on the year. He's getting the occasional base hit. He even draws the occasional walk. But for Tovar, he's either striking out or he's getting out in some other way.
If he even touches the ball. And it was crazy because I was looking at his numbers right before we recorded, and strikeout percentage, like his strikeout rate, it's a couple points higher than his career average. Right now, it's hovering around 28. So it's not egregious. It's not anything we haven't seen before, and that's It's not exactly a good thing, but that and swing rate. I think, like you say, flailing. That's the big thing that we're seeing now. Is Tovar has always been a guy who's been uber aggressive at the plate. We've known that, throughout his minor league career into the big leagues. The Rockies like that. It was aggressive, aggressive, aggressive contact. And then that was what was nice that we saw last year where we saw that walk rate improve, where he got it up to close to a 6%, which, considering league average is around 8%, it's a huge growth for him. And is doing all that. But now we're seeing this year where the swing rate is about the highest it's ever been. It's really high. He's always been in those kind of low 60s. He's around like 64 to 68%, somewhere around in there. So it's a really high swing rate. And I think the big thing, Evan, is that the way teams are approaching him now is his chase rate has exploded this season, the worst it's ever been thus far, where he is chasing, he is swinging at his swing rate out of the zone is the highest it's been. It's bad. It's a lot of chasing and then not connecting on the pitches in the zone. He's whiffing, and it seems like a lot of the times his at bats are 3 pitches and he's down. And it's kind of like what we talked about with Willie Castro, where it felt like that. Then you look at Castro and like, oh, he's actually seeing a lot more pitches. He can take a pitch. It's just he gets quickly down 0-2, but then he can get a couple more. For Tovar, it's literally he's up there for 3 pitches, if that, if he's not hitting in the first pitch and then grounding out.
Yeah, and for Tovar, it's not only is that chase rate high, I believe it is the highest in the league,
Yeah.
or it was at some point over the weekend. And they showed a graph during one of the Rockies games today, and pitchers are doing exactly what he's infamous for. The bulk of the pitches that he is chasing, the bulk of the pitches that pitchers are throwing are breaking pitches low and away, which have always been his kryptonite. But at some point, especially now when this is your 4th season in the league, you want to see some kind of development that, you're starting to recognize those pitches and lay off. And he's only drawn 3 walks this year. He's still chasing those pitches down and away, but now he's chasing even more. He's chasing pitches above the zone. He's chasing pitches inside. He's swinging at everything. And it comes across as a guy who is not seeing the ball and is compensating by pressing really, really hard.
Yeah.
And what I want to know is what happened to the Ezequiel Tovar that we saw in the World Baseball Classic, where you couldn't get this guy out. He wasn't chasing as much. He was making good contact. And it wasn't necessarily for power, but he was hitting doubles and doing what we know Ezequiel Tovar is capable of. But then he comes back to the Rockies, and this start to the season has just been pretty miserable. He looks unhappy. His at-bats are terrible. And it's sort of a question of what do you do now?
Yeah, and that's what's hard, because when do you take this big leaguer who's done something a certain way, that's what got him to the big leagues for his regime. And then I think what makes him stand out even more is when you're seeing a lot of the guys in the lineup are starting to put things together. You've got an emphasis on contact type of things. Mickey Moniak is off to a really hot start this season. And then new guys like Troy Johnston and TJ Rumfield, who are making a good bit of contact. They take walks. Kyle Karros. Yeah, he's hitting around 200, below 200, but he has really good at bats. Every time he's in a 3-2 count, it seems, and he's just not getting the success because dude's hitting nothing but line drives, and they're just going right at people. But Tovar, he's not even making contact. It feels like a lot of the time, or if he does, it's not good contact. It's beating it into the ground. You can look at his numbers and you're like, he should have way more success than he does, because it's all pretty evenly split. Like, the numbers have hardly changed from year to year. We're just seeing that pitchers have continued to exploit his weaknesses, and he's not making the adjustment needed like we've seen other players do or continue to try and do on this team right now.
A really good comparison for a guy who started off the season rough and is really finding his rhythm is Edward Julian.
Yeah.
Who in his first 7 games had 1 hit. And then in the last 16, and this is even including a little bit of a cold stretch where he went something like 1 for 19 for a little bit when the Rockies went to San Diego and then were in Houston, and the Rockies, struggled in those 2 series. In the next 16 games, though, he still hit 309.
Yeah.
And you see him, he's taken over that leadoff spot that sort of was supposed to be Tovar's.
Yeah.
Like we all sort of thought maybe Tovar is the guy who's going to be one of those leadoff hitters, and now it's Julian. Or you have other guys who the numbers aren't quite there, but you're seeing them start to connect the dots, like Kyle Karros, whose average is still pretty low, but he's drawing walks, he's taking a lot of pitches, and you're seeing him kind of grow. Especially when Karros was rushed up to the big leagues last year, wasn't necessarily ready, and this year he's still in that development phase. But you can't say the same thing for Tovar, who, like I said, has now been in the league. This is his 4th season.
And you're seeing the difference in what the previous regime valued in the players that they had, and and what they valued. The Rockies were trying to chase the guys that are going to be aggressive, hard contact, and just free swinging aggression. And we're seeing that that's not the way to do it. Because like Kyle Karros, even he was kind of picked up in the area where the Rockies are still trying to yeah, we're striking out too much. Let's try and bring in some guys. But that was just part of Karros's pedigree was I'm a patient hitter, and he is. But other guys, it's if you're hitting homers, you're finding success in the minors, we're going to bring you up as soon as we can because we expect you to keep doing that. But the development stopped. Because we can look back at 2024, Evan. You look at those numbers for Tovar's 2024 season, which was really good offensively. Uh, there's a lot of those swing rates and things are pretty similar to what we're seeing this season, and saw last year, but he's not finding the success this time around. It's because the one trick pony, the league gets wise to it. Oh, you're going to swing first pitch? Well, then we're going to throw it 10 feet off the zone out and away.
And we know you're going to chase it.
Yeah, we know you're going to swing, and then we're going to swing at the next one and put you immediately in. Now, I was looking at his first pitch strike rate was super high too. And that's the big problem. When you're constantly down 0-1, the odds of you getting a hit are drastically worse. It's okay to swing first pitch because you can find a lot of success, and the Rockies have done that. But you can't keep that approach after the first pitch when you go down 0-1.
Yeah.
You got to change.
And it's frustrating because you can still see parts of the Ezequiel Tovar that we know and love in there. He still leads the team in doubles. He does have a home run. He's got a couple stolen bases, but the meaningfulness of his at bats is pretty low, especially in the clutch. He's only got 6 ribbies. You put him up there in a clutch situation, and you can't really expect anything from him, and that's been really frustrating because the difference is, guys like Hunter Goodman. Goody struck out 40 times so far. He leads the team. He's striking out a lot, but he's also got 7 home runs. He is playing to his strengths, and he is maybe pressing a little bit. We've talked about him before, and the pressure of trying to follow up on last season, but the power is still there, and when he gets a hold of one, he really gets a hold of one. And the problem is when Tovar is making contact, he's not really getting a hold of them either.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of ground outs. There's been a decent chunk of double plays. It's just, it's really frustrating to watch because we know that he is better than this, that he can do better than this. And to have him be one of the worst position players on the team when it comes to wins above replacement right now, and he's tied with Edward Julian for negative 0.4, and Julian's is that low because his defense is terrible.
Meanwhile, Tovar's defense is good, and
his bat is just not there.
Not there.
And it's frustrating because this is not the Ezequiel Tovar that you want to see after all this time, especially when this is supposed to be one of your core building blocks for the future.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is we can start talking about the other guy too along with this, but there's no immediate pressure on Tovar in his position too, so you kind of have to ride out and hope he can click and find it. You move him down in the bottom of the order, which has worked for some other guys. Maybe take some pressure off him, let him work on some things. But you kind of have to ride out and see what he can do, because if you can't use Tovar, who are you using? Well, Willie Castro is not exactly the option you want at shortstop every single day. And he's your only other option. Otherwise, you're calling up a Ryan Ritter, and that opens up a can of worms where Tovar is your best option, and there's not a lot of pressure on you know, banging on the door on the depth chart. So you kind of have to write out and figure out how can we get how can we get this thing jump started on on the fly and get him rolling, and it's tough. No, and it's kind of on the opposite of Jordan Beck, who there is pressure on him to try and figure things out. Where he's essentially lost his starting spot. He's kind of more sporadic Splatoon type guy. Platoon. I got Nintendo on the mind, Evan.
Woo me.
But yeah, do you try and send Tovar down to get him reset for a week? Yeah, you could and ride with somebody for a week, but is that what's best for Tovar? Or would that sap his confidence even more and make things worse? Like it's a tricky situation. How do you get him going?
Yeah, because you can tell that the confidence is waning. He looks miserable out there,
And we're all
and
miserable watching.
and and it's like you said, like for Jordan Beck, who's largely lost his starting spot, there are guys that can fill in. Troy Johnston has earned that right field and DH spot. Mickey Moniak has earned regular playing time, either as the DH or even he's been mostly fine in left field, honestly.
And Jake
And
McCarthy is like strung things together. Like he's
yeah,
not
he's
standing, but
starting.
he's perfectly fine.
Yeah, he's starting to find his rhythm. But for Beck now, he's lost it. And there are guys down in the minors. You have Charlie Condon who can play right field. You've got, but he's not coming up anytime soon. Zach Veen is starting to finally put things together so far this year in Albuquerque. But the problem is the Rockies really don't have any middle infielders that are ready to go to
Or
put
on the
pressure
40.
on Tovar that are not playing below double A. Like
Yeah.
almost all of the middle infielders are in high A and low A. Like there's really not anyone who would put immediate pressure on Ezequiel Tovar. And some people are going to say, well, Cole Carrig, but one, I think Carrig is close, but he's not ready. But two, Carrig is still the bulk of his reps are coming in the outfield and center field. He is playing a decent chunk of shortstop, but I don't think you can anoint him the starting shortstop right now.
Yeah. Like it's something that he can do, but it's it's same with Ryan Ritter down in AAA. Like how often was he playing in the outfield down there? Not often. He was pretty much playing shortstop and things like that. Meanwhile, it's guys that you'd add are just kind of your depth pieces of we'd have to add Chad Stevens to the 40-man roster, and so that means we have to drop somebody off the roster, and then we have to add him and all these other things like Nicky Lopez, who we traded to the Cubs recently for cash. So there's not a lot of pressure on there where it's essentially like you do have to just sit and Tovar just needs something to boost his confidence. He needs a multi-hit game, a couple of doubles, and then string together a couple of. He just needs a really good series.
Yeah, he needs, and that's the problem is he had multiple opportunities during this Mets series to get that slump buster. Like he had opportunities where there were guys on base. And it's all right, Tovar. Now's the time. If you want to string some hits together, that'd be awesome. And he didn't do it. And meanwhile, he's been getting lower and lower in the batting order. Same thing that we've been seeing from Brenton Doyle. But even Doyle's been stringing stuff together more than Tovar has.
Yeah. Like nothing significant, but he'll throw out a couple knocks, get on base.
I think
It's to a point where you sometimes forget. Ultimately, like you're forgetting about Tovar and Doyle. I think for me when I think of the Rockies now, like who's the first player that comes to your mind when you say, main guys of the Rockies lineup right now?
it's
You're like,
ironically outside of Hunter Goodman, it's probably Mickey Moniak.
yeah, it's like Mickey Moniak. Like that's who I think of when I say Rockies offense right now. You're like, it's Mickey or Troy Johnston. Like guys are doing things.
Yeah,
I sometimes forget. I'm like, oh yeah, there's Tovar.
guys who even like members outside of Rockies media are talking about. People are saying, "Oh, Mickey Moniak is finally putting things together with his first overall pedigree." And I've seen other people go, "Why did the Marlins let Troy Johnston go?" Guys that are getting attention, and the folks who are supposed to be the franchise faces for the Rockies, guys like Jordan Beck and Brenton Doyle and Ezequiel Tovar, are sort of sliding into the background.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the great challenge that I think Brett Pill has. It's the thing is that Tovar, like a lot of other guys, has to show an ability to evolve, as a hitter. And I know people just criticize, well, the problem is just the personnel. You can't change. Like, yes, you can. That's what coaching is as a player. If you're not adjusting and you're going to continue to flounder, then there's no reason for a team to keep you around. Look at Michael Tolia and what happened with him. The Rockies just would not change his approach, and look where he is now, playing in AAA for the for Cincinnati, and doing what he's always done in AAA, which is really good. But then he doesn't do anything at the big league level, and so the point where it kind of is like Paul DePodesta and Josh Burns start looking at each other like, we got to move on from Tovar at some point because he just does not fit into the mold of what we're trying to do here. I like,
Yeah.
At the point, it's like, can you blame him if he's going to continue to have these struggles and not evolve from them? Because, like you said, we know what he can do, and he's got to start doing it again.
Yeah, it's a real shame, and I hope he starts turning things around. I hope we can look at the end of the season, we can look back at April and go, man, that was a rough start, but he ended up having a really great season.
The Brendan Rodgers approach.
Just forget April exists.
So,
And we want all of these guys to succeed, but the main thing is, it's like there are other guys who are on this team that are finding success with the new coaching and with the new approach. Because here's the deal: it is the coaching staff's job to get the best out of their players, but it's also the players' job to put the best out there for the coaching staff in response.
Yeah.
And there are guys who are doing that. And granted, a lot of them are on the pitching side of things. But for Tovar, for Doyle, for Beck, you start to wonder.
Yeah, it's you got to evolve with the times, fit the mold of the new guys that have come in. And no, I know Tovar's frustrated and he's doing everything he can. And at some point, hopefully, it does start to click. But dude, just lay off that slider down and away. Lay off of it.
Stop swinging at the first pitch.
Yeah, like, because remember he did that during spring training where he would sit there and not swing until it was, until it was like a 2-1 count. No, he would not. He would wait until they threw a strike. So, we'll see. But maybe he needs to take that approach again of like, dude, do not swing until they throw you a strike.
Yeah, or something. And the
Change
problem
the
is,
narrative.
we don't have, like, we saw a thing where with Michael Tolia, it was when the coaching staff got frustrated with him, they would bench him. But right now, they don't have anybody they can bench Tovar for. He's got to be in that lineup. Who are you going to put at short? Kyle Karros?
No, it would be Willie Castro.
Who's hurt?
Yeah, and like Tyler Freeman, but Tyler Freeman has the motion range of a teaspoon. So like,
and that's the problem is Tovar's defense is still fine.
Yeah, it's still good.
Yeah.
We shall, to quote Aragorn in that weird 70s Lord of the Rings, no, it was in The Return of the King. We shall see. Is the Rankin and Bass one, Evan.
To quote Aragorn from the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy, for Frodo.
Sure.
But we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to talk some more about some players that need to be discussed early here in the season, but this time on a positive note. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude. I'm Evan. That's Skyler. And Skyler, we just talked about some guys who aren't doing very well with the new coaching and the new approach, largely on the offensive side. But you know who's a guy who has really started to shine under this new coaching staff, under this new approach, and has been, honestly, I would say, excellent to start the season?
Tomoyuki Sagano.
Yes, actually, but no. Sagano's been fabulous. Like, I'm really enjoying watching him pitch. But the guy who I think deserves a ton of kudos right now is Chase Dollander.
Mm-hmm. The greatest move, talk about Senzatella, like, oh, great for Senzatella to figure out as a reliever. But the greatest thing the Rockies have done is bring in people who are pretty much getting the most out of Chase Dollander and helping him start to find the potential of why he was a first-round pick. Now, they're starting to help him reach that. And it's been fantastic to see, because the struggles he had last year, you're like, oh no, this team isn't going to get it, and we've wasted another first round pick.
Yeah.
Like this ain't it.
And
But
now it's, you have this coaching staff who is getting the best out of him, and it's been in an unconventional way. He's largely been coming in as a bulk reliever, throwing 4, 5, 6 innings off the back of an opener or an opener or two, but it's working. And we talked at length about for like StatCast values of how much red is in Antonio Senzatela's StatCast right now. The same can be said for Chase Dollander, where last year basically the only bar in his StatCast values that was red was his fastball velocity. And we know that he's got a great fastball that he can throw 100 miles per hour. But this year, everything else is starting to get there as well. That really the only major thing is that when he does give up contact, it can get hit pretty hard.
that's
But
also because he's throwing 99 miles an hour.
But he's getting way more ground balls. He's not issuing as many walks. He's getting a ton of strikeouts. He leads the team in strikeouts by like 20 plus at this point. And you look at everything he's doing, and he's succeeding at home. He's succeeding on the road. And you look at him and you go, this is what we wanted to see. And he took his lumps last year. And now with this new coaching staff under Alon Leishman, we are seeing what he can be. And he even started. He started today. No opener. Went 7 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts, only 2 walks. Beautiful. Exactly what we want to see. And I'm of the mind that at this point now, 7 games into the season, 6 of them as a bulk reliever, and 1 of them as a start. And with some of the injuries that the Rockies have had, personally, I think it's time you let him just be a starter again. But I don't think that is in the cards currently. Warren Schaefer has talked about continuing to use an opener for him. But at some point, you need to take that leash off and see if he can be a starter again.
Yeah, and I think with that, I'll start with that. Like, it could go either way. Oh, if that's what you feel is going to give you the best chance to win a game, okay, fine. And then he can go 7 shutout and get you into the 8th inning. But that's the thing that we're seeing, is that he is putting up ace stuff, because I think you remember, Evan, at the end of last year, you could just see how demoralized Dollander was after a lot of starts. That near 10 ERA at home. After his last start, it's just frustration and not knowing what to do. It's kind of reeling of just like, I don't know what to do. Like, he's going to reach out to people and try and figure something out. But I think the biggest thing is that Warren Schaefer, Alon Leishman, Matt Daniels, Gabe Rebus, all these guys have done a good job of giving the pitchers confidence. That's the biggest thing I've seen with Dollander especially, but the rest of the pitching staff, is just they exude confidence. Every guy that they throw out there. The guy who's maybe been the shakiest, Victor Vodnik and Zach Agnos, but they still go out there and the team puts confidence behind them, still puts them in situations that they've got struggled in. They still throw them out there because they trust them and give these guys confidence. And I think Dollander, you look at him every time he gets interviewed, he smiles, he's joking, and you can just tell he exudes confidence.
Yeah.
Right now, the confidence
Especially
of an ace
on the mound. He's got that like stoic, confident, just into his delivery, let's rock kind of vibe to him that he didn't really have last year. And then he gets off the mound and he's done, and you can tell that he feels like he's doing a good job. And you can tell that they're extending these opportunities, unconventional or conventionally, for all of the pitchers. This is not quite the same as when Bud Black would run out a pitcher who was just doing terribly again and again and again. You can tell that when they come off the mound, if things didn't maybe go as planned, they're giving them some stuff to work on. Like, you can't beat around the bush. Victor Vodnik, his last 2 appearances before today were terrible. He did not do very well. And then you had the complete meltdown against the Padres, where the Rockies snatched defeat from the jaws of victory because Vodnik gave up 5 runs in the 9th. He comes in and he throws a 1-2-3 inning. in the first half of the doubleheader today. Give him the opportunity. Give him the chance. Same for Zach Agnos. Agnos had a pretty rough start to the season, and they've given him some other opportunities. They've used him in different roles. They've put him in long relief opportunities, in addition to close opportunities and other opportunities. They're trying new things and giving guys opportunities to learn and develop versus what it used to be, which is go out there and do the same thing you did last time, but just don't be bad this time. Be
Yeah.
good.
And I think what's good for Dollander especially is it's that increased confidence in his other pitches. Everything. He's using the slider, a variety of breaking pitches, and then can turn to multiple versions of fastball and a cutter two seamer thing or the four seamer that he can just rip that past guys. There's just confidence where he's just pounding the zone and then working off the plate. It's just the confidence from top to bottom with his arsenal that's allowing him to pitch like the team hoped he could. And if Daryl Scott and Bud Black were still here, I don't think we see this Chase Dollander. And it's just a sense of they're just not the right men for the job at the moment, where you need a guy like a Lone Leishman. It's guys that are analytically minded, can look at these things. And this approach to pitching and pitching shape and how pitches work and move and manipulating the ball now, you need that in this game, in this day and age.
Yeah. And if you look at Dollander's heat maps, it's all about this year movement and placement. You look at his four-seam fastball. Where's he putting it? High rail most of the time. That's
Why
where
not
it
the knees?
needed to be.
No, Evan, knees.
Every fastball's got to be at the knees. That changeup consistently at the bottom of the zone, the curveball, the sweeper, he's putting in all sorts of different places and not leaving these hanging meatballs, which is what he did last year, especially with that fastball of just not locating it and it gets crushed. That's not happening nearly as much so far this season. He's locating, he's getting movement, he's getting spin. All these different things are just, it's exactly what you want to see. And I am so happy for Chase Dollander because it's like you said, I was really worried that this was going to be another wasted first round pick. We got this guy that oozes potential and we ruined him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like something that you would always bring up in the selection. Like, I think we broke Chase Dollander.
And it was because it was so hard last year to watch, especially at the end of the season where he looked miserable. And confidence is key, especially for a guy that you're touting as your future ace. And he just had such a rough season last year, especially at home. And I was worried. I frequently did say, guys, I think we broke him.
Yeah. But the nice thing is, Evan, that some things that are broken, you can put them back together. You can fix them. And that's what I think. I wish there was like a pitching coach of the year because Lone Leishman has been doing, and the group, Matt Daniels, everybody, they've done some phenomenal things in this early part of the season, and we'll see where things are at the end of the year. But just the confidence, I think that's the biggest thing. Is you want a coaching staff that is going to give guys confidence, and Chase Dollander has that confidence now, where he in post game interviews like, I can dominate any lineup, and you believe him. It's not him just blowing smoke up people's rear ends. He believes that, and I believe him that he could. Of what we're seeing him. No, and with the opener, I understand why you do it because just playing the numbers game, he doesn't have to face the top of the order, in a pivotal moment late in the game, so he gets through those first couple and he doesn't have to see them as often. I can see that. But then, like today's game against the Mets, who qualifier, the Mets are stinky right now. But the Padres weren't. The Padres haven't been. The Astros aren't stinky offenses.
Yeah, the Astros have one of the best offenses in the league to start the season.
He's dominating them.
Yeah, shut him out for 5 1/3 innings. His last 3 games, strikeout totals, 9-9-7. Like, he's single-handedly bringing the Rockies strikeout totals up. And even even then, though, today against the Mets, and the Mets are pretty bad right now, he didn't start off with his best stuff. His first couple innings, command was a little shaky. He didn't really have the strikeouts working. He threw a couple walks, and then he locked in. And he was brilliant for pretty much the rest of the game. And you got to the point where, with two outs in the bottom of the seventh, he's thrown 102 pitches. And it's looking like Warren Schaefer is about to head up those dugout stairs to go fetch his guy and bring in Seth Halverson. And you see Dollander go, nope, sit back down. I've got this. And he did. And that's not necessarily something to take for granted, is that he was given the opportunity by Warren Schaefer and Owen Leishman to wave him off and go, no, give me the chance, give me the opportunity to finish this inning. I've got this.
Yeah, and it's team mentality too, where it wants to save the bullpen because they've had to use a lot of relievers and whatnot. But I think too, the best pitchers in baseball history, the best, aren't always going to have their best stuff all the time. Tarek Skubal doesn't have his best stuff every inning. Sometimes you have to find it. It takes a couple innings. But the best pitchers in baseball history still found ways to compete and dominate lineups, even when they don't have their best stuff. And so it's Dollander finding those opportunities where, there's a situation today, the first two guys get on, and he gets out of the inning unscathed because he gets a crucial double play, strikes out a guy, type of stuff, just dominates where you don't have your best stuff, but you still find ways to grind out and compete and dominate. And he's doing it all. And I think that's awesome. And he's just settling in. He's like, yeah, I don't care if I'm coming in as an opener, whatever, I'll do my thing. If I'm going to start, great, I'll do that too.
And I think that's the mentality that a lot of guys on this team are exuding right now of, tell me what you need me to do, and I've got you. I will do it. And we're seeing that in the minor league levels as well. When I talked to Cole Carrig, and if you haven't listened to that interview, you should, because he was fantastic.
What?
His thing was, like, I asked him, do you view yourself as an outfielder or as a shortstop? And he says, I view myself as a player. Tell me what you need me to do, and I'll do it. That's huge. And for a guy like Dollander, you've got that first round pedigree of, he was an excellent college pitcher. Rockies drafted him 9th overall. Those guys tend to have the thing where it's like, no, I'm a starter. I need to do it this way. I need to do it my way. You see that in football players a lot. I see myself as a day one starter. And to have Dollander bought in and going, tell me what you need me to do and I'll do it. I love that.
And like, he's earned the right for them. He basically is a starter right now.
Yeah.
No, the coming out of the bullpen, it's just a title. He still works as a starter every time he's coming out now, which we'll have a further discussion about this stuff of what you do with the rotation and whatnot. But he's earned it to where he is a starter, even if he has the bullpen designation.
Yeah.
Because
you can call him a bulk reliever if you want, but he's going out there and he's going beyond being throwing long relief of, he's threw 2-3 innings. No, he's throwing 4, 5, 6 innings out of the bullpen.
Yeah, he is doing starter's work. He's just starting in the second inning. It honestly is more apt to call him the piggyback starter, even though players were really offended by that term when the Rockies coined it in 2012. But that's basically what he is the piggyback.
Yeah, as it was meant to be.
Yes. He's now Dan O'Dowd the White.
Speaking of Dan O'Dowd, his kid's doing not too bad down in Lower Fresno.
Good for him.
Yeah, it's nice to see. Guy we signed out of the Pioneer League.
Good for him. I've worked in that league. The team I worked for is now defunct. So is Grand Junction.
They are, however, Grand Junction's getting a Pecos League team now, which is
Razorback something.
Yeah, some sort of humpback chub adjacent name.
Yep.
But I'm glad that they exist because the fact that there was basically only the Trinidad Triggers left in Colorado was sad.
There's some Colorado Collegiate League.
Yeah, the Boulder Collegians, whose uniforms and logos were designed by Thomas Harding,
Good for him.
which is pretty neat. But excuse me, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to keep talking about the pitching, sort of build off of what we just talked about with Chase Dollander. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude. I'm Evan. That's Skyler. We are grateful that you are still with us because, Skyler, we need to talk about this rotation because some injuries have happened. Unfortunately, Ryan Feltner was forced to leave his last start after just 2 innings, was diagnosed with a right ulnar nerve inflammation. It's one of the nerves in your elbow, and was placed on the 15-day injured list. And that is the minimum. We're not sure how long it's going to take for him to come back because these are the kind of injuries that can be tricky. And that then leaves some question marks with the starting rotation because you've got Quintana, who, had a pretty good start today in the first part of the doubleheader. Bad first inning, turned it around and threw 5 2/3 pretty solid innings. And then Sugano and Lorenzen. Kyle Freeland will be back soon, but that still leaves you with that final spot of, do you keep going with Dollander as the opener? Do you, with Dollander and an opener, do you put Dollander officially into the rotation? Do you start using other guys as sort of piggybacks as well? What do you do if Kyle Freeland is not going to be ready to come back on the 28th in Cincinnati, like the earliest possible scenario? What do you do with Tanner Gordon or Antonio Sensatela? Now we've got questions.
I think the most part, if those 4 guys are back, and you're just present, Feltner, you stick with Dollander with an opener, or like we said in the last segment, either way, he can start, he can use an opener. It really doesn't matter as long as Dollander is pitching at bulk innings and being dominant. That's what you do. Now, further beyond that, to go even further beyond into not to go Super Saiyan 3, which I wish we could. At that point, it becomes a little muddier. If Feltner's out for an extended length and you lose, somebody deals with an injury, Freeland's shoulder flames up again or something, I think first and foremost you go to a Tanner Gordon, perhaps. I think that would be kind of the cleanest route. You add Tanner Gordon in, and you bring up another long reliever, a Beozo, or probably Beozo, something like that. That'd probably be the biggest thing. I think that's the simplest route to go. It's just a matter of determining when a Gabriel Hughes or a Sean Sullivan, something like that, you want to risk calling up a rookie like that to start getting action.
Yeah, both of whom had, unfortunately, some rough starts this week down in AAA, but are playing overall quite well. But we've talked about at length so far this season of not wanting to rush guys up and letting that call up occur naturally. Very much so for guys like Hughes and Sullivan. You want their confidence, you want their stuff to all be in the right place before you pull them up. But yeah, I agree. And they've shown the willingness to do the piggyback strategy with guys like Tanner Gordon as well, which I think helps because you have that option available for you, or you could have Gordon start. Beozo is an option. And then we saw them add him as the 27th man for the doubleheader today, is Blas Castaño, who they picked up off of waivers the other day. And he can both start or come out of the bullpen as well. Something the Rockies have very clearly prioritized so far in their acquisitions in terms of waivers and pickups is guys who can do both.
Yeah.
But we're in a weird spot right now with the pitching staff in general because, Jimmy Herget's got to be reinstated from the paternity list in the next few days. And I'm not really sure who we send down for that.
Sammy Peralta.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot he was even here.
Because I don't think he's pitched yet, has he?
He's been up in the bullpen once, but he has not actually entered a game.
But that's what you do when Herget comes back. Probably.
Yeah. Well, now my face is red because I forgot we called up Sammy Peralta.
Yeah, because you also called up Seth Halverson. But yeah, you'd probably send down Sammy Peralta unless you really want to keep another lefty in that bullpen.
Yeah.
Then you send down somebody else you send what's his name you send Halverson back down, or maybe you send down an Agnos just because you need you want to keep the fresher arm of Halverson or something like that.
Or even Mejia, who's been a little all over the place so far to start the
Yeah.
season. Nobody's really been abjectly terrible, which is a nice change of pace, honestly. But there are guys who you could potentially go. But I really like where our bullpen is at overall, and it was nice to see this 3-game set against the Mets. Everybody got their job done. Everybody came out and pitched the way they needed to. Halverson's velo's a little down so far, but honestly, I think they're slowly working him back up because he did have that elbow injury last year and he started the season in AAA. But where this pitching staff is at right now makes me pretty happy, especially going back to mentioning for the rotation, is not having to rush and call up guys like Hughes or Sullivan. Because I do think we absolutely see both of them to start the year or to before the end of the season. But so far, the 3 new guys that we brought in to start the season, Lorenzen, Sugano, and Quintana, have all been largely solid. I would say Quintana's probably struggled the most, but then we saw him have a pretty good outing today.
Yeah. That and like him, he's settled in. He's been the most worrisome. And then Lorenzen's had a mixed bag, but these last couple outings have been fairly good. And then had the 7 innings against the Mets on Friday. So he's starting. He'll have his ups and downs, I think, but overall is fairly solid. And then Tomoyuki Sugano, continues to just do his thing outside of the rough start against the Dodgers, which all things considered wasn't egregious. It just wasn't the sharpest.
And it was
But
the
his most
Dodgers.
but his most recent outing, like first outing where he didn't give up a home run this season, like and a good solid outing against the Padres. So like and then over this weekend, all 3 between Lorenzen, Quintana, and Dollander, like you got 19 and a third innings, something like that, of good solid baseball out of 3 guys who didn't allow a ton of runs. Like you'll take that. You'll take that in a series of out of 3 guys.
Yeah,
And
and
then Tomoyuki Sugano.
you want to know what's really wild is having the top 3 guys for wins above replacement for Baseball Reference are all pitchers.
Yeah.
It's Senzatela, Sugano, and Dollander. And
Mm-hmm.
right up there with them is Jimmy Herget.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Freeland. Like almost everybody in our top WAR guys, I'm looking through the top 12 right now. It's Senzatela, Sugano, Dollander, Herget, Freeland, Bernardino, Jaden Hill, who's been really good as well. That's a lot of pretty solid pitching.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It's really weird to
it's
be
working.
going this early in the season. You know what's not one of the weakest points for the Rockies is their pitching. The starting's been fine. The bullpen's been fine. Like, are they world beaters? No, of course not. But they're not the liability that they were. Like the comparison, at least this early in the season, between the Rockies pitching staff to start 2025 and the Rockies pitching staff to start 2026 is insane how different they are.
How many pitchers worked into the 7th inning last year for the Rockies of the starters? And when did that happen? Like, you've already had multiple guys work deep into the game, into the 7th inning. What, 3 guys now? 7+ innings. I don't imagine that happened very often last year, especially this early in the season.
I don't recall. I mean, I'd have to go through and look, but I don't recall it
Yeah.
happening particularly often.
Yeah.
And it's the same for you've got all these guys for playing a majority of different roles. And it's not as confusing. So I remember, especially last year, we'd have times where it'd be like, why are we sending Vodnik out for a second inning? Why are we sending this guy out for a second inning? What we're doing doesn't make sense. But the way that Alon Leishman and Warren Schaefer are doing it this year, alongside all the other pitching coaches, makes more sense of like trying to save the bullpen from being exhausted while also trying out new things and guys in a variety of different roles.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of go back to your question about like, okay, what if something happens more to guys and starters and whatnot? It's interesting looking at how starting has worked down in Albuquerque, because it's not like a set, here's our 5 starters type of thing. No, Sean Sullivan has 5 starts. He's pitched 5 games, he started 5. Gabriel Hughes came in as a reliever in 1 game, so he has 4 starts. Bayozo, it's worked 3 games, 3 starts. Tanner Gordon, 3 starts. Then it's like guys like Parker Mushinski has pitched in 9 games, but he started 3 of them as an opener. Patrick Weigel, same way, 5 games, 3 starts. Adam Lasky has a couple of starts in 2 games. Keegan Thompson has 2 starts, but he's mostly worked out of the bullpen. And so it's there's like 2, 3 guys that are like, these are our starters in Albuquerque. Tanner Gordon would count into that, so like 4 guys. But other than that, it's, well, we're going to throw out openers and kind of do things different in Albuquerque to kind of test out more openers where you don't have like set traditional starters in AAA. So it kind of makes the filling the hole if something further happened for the big league team. It muddies it a little bit. Like, what would they do if something should happen beyond more than like 1 or 2 guys at a time?
Yeah, but at the same time, it also fits into the mold that we've seen on a big league team of trying different guys in different roles and being willing to shake things up. So, like, you've got all of those guys as well. But then, Keegan Thompson, who's historically done both starting and relieving, he's been fabulous in a majority of different roles. He's actually looked really, really good in AAA. Okay, well, then do you want to add him to the roster if you need to? And then, again, you've got guys like Blas Castano, who have started before. You've got Carson Palmquist, who started before, though he's been exclusively out of the bullpen so far this season. And really interestingly, I don't think we're going to see him this year, but I do want to shout out the Isotopes called up my man Stu Fleslin III from High A Spokane, because it ended up being a blowout loss. Sean Sullivan had a rough outing, went 3 innings in a doubleheader. And then Stu Fleslin came in and threw 3 shutout innings and got his first AAA strikeouts. And that's pretty cool.
There you go. Yeah. And like Keegan Thompson, like you mentioned him, where we waiver claim, had a horrible spring training, doesn't make the big league roster, gets DFA'd, but does accept the outright to Albuquerque. And, mostly as the multi-inning, reliever, bulk reliever, where he's worked at least 2 innings in every outing that he's had. The 2 games he started, he went 4 innings in each of them, went 4 2/3 in his second outing where he started, or in his second start. Has 6 earned runs that he's allowed. Yeah, earned runs. So like there's options. You'd have to get a little creative to fill out the rotation, of emergency type scenarios, but you'll have some options. Jeff Criswell, I think they'll mostly use him as a reliever, but maybe they can fit him back into a starting role, or whatever happens with McCade Brown in the future. So you're gonna have to start looking at things, but Albuquerque's just an interesting place. So I think that's where they'd want to call up from and not jump guys up from AA.
Yeah, I think what makes that easier for them is the Isotopes are actually kind of not bad.
They're echoing what the big league team is doing.
Yes, they're definitely getting more wins. The Isotopes right now are 15-12 after a win today, but the last few seasons of Isotopes baseball has been pretty rough, where it's just nothing is really clicking. They're getting blown up constantly, and there are still some issues with the pitching down there. It's always going to be hard to pitch in the PCL. The ball flies. But we're getting some pretty good pitching performances. The offense is really turning around, and it's like you said, they're echoing what the big league team is doing. And I've mentioned this a couple other shows before, and you have as well, of for once, it feels like we've got a cohesive plan that goes down the minor league system instead of that disconnect that we've had over the last few years, where it just seems like the big league club and the farm system are doing completely different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It helps when you just have a game plan. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But no, it's just fun feeling like, in general, like pitching rotation and everything, like it was kind of rough where we just weren't getting length. Now we're starting to get a little bit better length. And like at the end of the day, all you can ask of your starting rotation is just give us a chance to win. And I feel like the majority of the time, that's what the starting rotation is doing. Aside
Yeah.
from some horrendous Lorenzen starts, Lorenzen starts. Like he's had a couple of rough
Lorendous.
ones. Lorendous starts, but he's also had some good ones, like competitive ones. Like majority of the time, gives the Rockies a chance to win. Now, the offense, that can be a discussion for another time. The bullpen and the pitching's doing their part. The offense, not so much all the time, but it's all work in progress.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just the comparison between the 2026 Rockies and the 2025 um excuse me, this year's Rockies and last year's Rockies. Just look at their Aprils, for example. In April last year, we gave up 157 runs. And right now in April, we are sitting at 108 with about a week left to go.
And you know what's awesome too, Evan, is that we actually can think about bringing back naming players of the month.
Yeah, that was
like how about that? We didn't do it last year.
Sad last year.
Because it was like Jimmy Herget. It would have been Jimmy Herget every month. No, something like that, or Hunter Goodman. that's why we didn't do awards either, because it's like it was just too depressing.
Yeah, it feels like even when the offense isn't doing that good, there's always somebody to talk about who had a good day at the plate. Like, oh, you know, the Rockies didn't do that much today, but hey, Edward Julian had a pretty good day. Or, you know,
a couple hits.
You know, today we lost and the pitching wasn't as great, but Jaden Hill came in. And man, there's a guy who's been pretty unsung this year. Jaden Hill has looked really good and really confident on the mound. And is finally setting into that relief role that they chose to. They changed him into a reliever, and he looks finally comfortable in that role.
You know what, Evan? And that's essentially your other lefty reliever outside of Brennan Bernardino. I'm just holding a jar of peanut butter.
Because I knocked it off my desk and then I caught it.
For our audio listeners, I just see Evan lift up his arm and he's got natural Jif peanut butter.
Well, what's the old slogan? Choosy moms choose Jif. Choosy Rockies podcasters choose Jif.
Unless my life growing up, we're just getting the generic Kroger brand.
I'm just very fidgety, and I was eating crackers and peanut butter earlier.
It's just bizarre just seeing the jar of peanut butter pop out, but
hashtag not sponsored unless
man, I would love for us to have a sponsor. But this episode's brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends.
Is that still a thing? I feel like I don't see those as often now.
It's mostly Raycon and like NordVPN ads nowadays, or like ZocDoc. ZocDoc's a big one.
I see a lot of mattress sponsorships recently.
The heck?
Like, this is brought to you by such and such mattresses. Take their overnight sleep quiz and find out which one of their mattresses is best for you.
What I was going to say is the pitching wise, or like just like the Rockies are going to end April and won't lose 20 games this month. How about that? If the last 2 seasons of losing 20 games, 20 plus in April, the fact that the Rockies mathematically now, because they have 3 games left in April, the worst they can do is 19 losses. That's a huge upside. It's a huge upgrade. Oh, they won't finish April. I guess they had some March games, but they won't lose 20 games in April, which is great.
Yeah. And the fact that the Rockies have, you know, an okay record, like this record that we have got where we are, 12 and 16 after today?
13 and 16.
All right, because the doubleheader. And you compare that to last year, where we didn't have 10 wins until June.
After 60 games.
Yeah. where we had already been were we the quickest team to 50 losses?
Yeah, first time that a team lost 50 games before 10 wins.
Yeah. And the Rockies didn't get their 13th win last year until June 12th.
Yeah.
They were 13-55 at the time.
Yeah. In between March and April last year, because Baseball Reference always combines those two because, hey, let's play 3 games at the end of March for some weird reason. Just start in April. But Rockies went 5-25 between those first 30 games. 5-25. We're currently, like you said, 13-16. We will not end that first month and change with 20 losses. Huge upgrade. This is a team that's on pace to win or to lose fewer than 100 games.
Yeah. And, who knows what happens throughout the rest of this year.
Yeah.
But at the very least, the start has been so encouraging that I'm willing to give some leeway here. And it's really nice to be, we're just about at May, and to not have to already be clamoring for people to be fired.
Yeah. Although some people are clamor for Warren Schaefer, but
there's always going to be people that are like that. but in general, to feel like the new staff, the new coaching staff, they are here, they're doing their jobs. It's the name of the game is progress. It's the hill to climb or whatever. And that is what is happening.
Yeah. We could end on this note too of, okay, the Rockies starting rotation, just starters in general. What do you think their ERA was last year, April, March combined?
6.20.
Higher.
Oh no.
6.53.
All right, I was close.
30 games. Yeah, you're close. This year, the starters, a 5.05 ERA.
That's not bad, especially for the Rockies. And there are some outliers in that where I think their ERAs are going to start coming down. It's really tough because when you start the season and you have some rough outings, that's going to taint your ERA for a really long time.
Yeah.
So like Michael Lorenzen's ERA is still 5.97. Jose Quintana's ERA is still 6.23. But Ryan Feltner's
as a unit, you're a full run less this year than you were last year. That's huge. Pitching staff as a whole, a 4.34 ERA this season. Oh, in April and March. Meanwhile, last year, it was 5.30.
Yeah. You take that.
Not only enough, the relievers have been good in both years. In April and March. So, yeah, rotation. This is a vastly improved team. And I guess somebody on Blue Sky like roll out the banner of the parade. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, this is something to celebrate. And we were talking about this in our Slack channel earlier. Of a lot of teams are still going, I can't believe we lost to the lowly Rockies, and it's like
you're gosh dang right.
Yeah, the Rockies were really bad last year, but you've also got to acknowledge that it's the same with all those like off-season report cards. Oh, the Rockies didn't sign any huge free agents, so they get an F on their report card. It's like, no, that's not what
they didn't do anything.
About. And this season's not going to be about, going to the playoffs or anything like that. This season is about the progress and the fact
that only 4 games back of a wild card.
Hey, but it's also only April. But the fact that this team has been watchable and many times fun. How many times could we say that we had fun watching the Rockies last year?
Not often.
Exactly.
I will take some of those those crippling losses because we should have won that because we should have had the series win type of thing. Like you can stomach those because this isn't a bad team. It's not that was our only chance at a win and we lost. So fun stuff.
But that's the Rockies, and I think that's going to do it here for us on another episode of Affected by Altitude. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Skyler, where can the folks find you at?
First, you can find me reading this Laffy Taffy joke. Did you hear the pantyhose CEO got fired? Yeah, but he had a good run. Why was the rich guy looking at the fence? Ugh. He was investigating.
That's terrible. That's not even a good bad joke. That's just a bad joke.
Yeah, it was bad. Willy Wonka wouldn't have settled for this, but anyways, you can find me over on Twitter at Skyler Timmons, or over on Blue Sky stimmons13.bsky.social, and then writing a Wednesday rock piles over at purplerow.com and doing the Wednesday game recaps, but not this week because Evan and I are switching, so I'll do Thursday.
And you can find me over on Blue Sky at evanlane27.bsky.social. Love to hear from you. Also catch me over on Purple Row doing game recaps on Thursdays and Sundays, in addition to some other miscellaneous things. Remember that you can find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all of your favorite podcasting platforms of choice, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. If it has podcasts on it, you can probably find us there. You can also catch us on the bulk of social media websites, including youtube.com, where you can find the video version of the show, at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKYMTN Rooftop. We are also not sponsored by Green Apple flavored Laffy Taffy.
Why was the queen antsy? She was the queen of the ants.
Skyler hit him with it.
Farewell!
We'll try and have better jokes next week.
Contact your local congressman to complain about Laffy Taffy.
Yeah, it's I'm sure the most pressing matter.
This has been Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast with Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. Catch new episodes every Monday on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us on YouTube as well for video versions of the show.